and then we were because I'm basically from ISRO. Yes, I wanted to salute my space father, Dr. Vikram Sarabhai. I hope you are able to listen the audio.
Yes, sir.
Okay. So I don't want to repeat. When our chairman, first chairman was Dr. Vikram Sarabhai, when he represented UN Council, the people from other countries, they were asking him, can a developing country like India can afford to have a space technology? For that, the answer given by him, I have just reproduced. But I wanted to again repeat. He has told in that is, we should be second to none in the application of advanced technologies. And next important point what he was emphasizing is, it should be to solve the problems of the man and society. I think now in the entire world, our DOS is the only thing, ISRO is the only department which is being used to solve the problems of the society. And we are the only organization and the department in the entire world, we are not on the commercial lines. Whereas in all other countries, these communications spacecrafts or weather spacecrafts, anything, it is managed by the private people with government's participation only. Whereas until now, rather until last year, government only was supporting. Now only, okay, we have freed up to the private industries to come and then have their own participation of satellites and then rockets and all. We will see it is mainly to increase the number of participation and then to bring out the potential of the industries to have a bigger impact in the space spectrum. That is the advantage. This is our organization. Okay, I'll not go too much into details. But whereas this diagram, but mainly why I have showing this diagram is for Department of Space and ISRO, the contribution is coming from across our Indian states. You name any place in India, you can find some portion which is contributing to the space. I think that may be one more reason why we are successful so far. And I think I am proud to say that Department of Space is the one department which is doing the service for the human community and then services successfully, because the contribution is from all over and all across Indians are contributing to this. Okay. Now, how it started, I just wanted to show you. What you are seeing in this diagram is a church, which is called Saint Magdalene Church. And in this church only, the first office for our ISRO established way back in 1960 by Dr. Sarabhai and Professor Dhawan, and then Dr. Kalam and all were there. Even today, if you happens to go to Trivandrum, you can still see this church. They have converted it as a museum. Next, these two diagrams, I think most of you would have already seen in many places whenever there is a satellite launch is happening. I think two people are carrying something in the cycle. It is nothing but the sounding rockets stages. From the laboratory after the assembly, it is being carried to the launching station and then it is used to be launched. This I am telling In 1963, this was the situation where no sophisticated cars and other things were available. So people were using bicycles. So I wanted to emphasize that with how we began our space program with very, very low budgets, and the available resources are also limited. Okay. Next, how this is what you are seeing is the state of Bangalore ISRO Satellite Center in 1972. It was in Pina that the industrial shed was being taken, and that was converted as our office for Satellite Center. It was in 1972. I think at the time I was in my school. I think I was studying in my school days. Okay, this is how when the Russian had visited in 1972 to Bangalore for our Aryabhatta project, they were wondering whether are you really sure that you want to build a satellite in this kind of environment. Then they told yes, and then they had did it, and then 1975 I think we launched our first satellite Aryabhatta. These are all I come to know after joining. Okay, I come to know from my elders. Okay, and next one is whatever you are seeing is a satellite is being carried in a bullock cart, and this satellite is covered with the dust-proof cover. But you may be wondering, this satellite, what it is you are seeing in this bullock cart, has been sent to space by Ariane, and the satellite worked for 3 full years. This is that satellite called that Ariane Passenger Payload Experiment. I have joined for this project in ISRO. Okay, I think I can proudly say that, yeah, my contribution is also there in this spacecraft. But I would like to tell you why I wanted to put this diagram. See, when we wanted to test the radio frequency interferences, okay, we have to carry the satellite to an open environment. And we'll have to have, it is mainly for radiation interference free. But now we have a kind of a lab, anechoic chambers and all. We have already established by spending crores of rupees, and then this kind of taking the spacecraft to open field and all is not required. We will take it to the chamber, and then we can have the testing, and then we will do the all frequency testings, and then all its interferences and all we can do, and all functional tests can be done. But this I'm talking about in 1980. 1980, when we wanted to do it, there was a big challenge for us to take the spacecraft from the clean room to the open area. This I am telling it is in the Pina Industrial Estate. That this was in 1980, I think I'm not wrong. So then when we were discussing how to take the spacecraft in a non-conducting platform, okay, then one of our seniors suggested, okay, why not we take it in a bullock cart? So what is it was, the idea was because it was made up of wood, and then it cannot have a conducting platform. It will act as a non-conducting platform. Then what we did is we have designed a cover which to be dust proof. That is that the clean room environment, that is the dust particle allowed is 1 particle in 1 lakh particles. That is the kind of what we call it as 1 lakh class clean environment we have to have. So that kind of a cover we made, and then we took by this, and then we have tested, and then we have done it. Why I am telling this is, we were not looking for the facility. We were making use the available resources to meet our requirements. That's what. That is how ISRO has survived for a long, and then we are seeing the success in all our endeavors because of this. We were always looking for whatever is available and then that we will see how to meet our requirements. That's how we have moved on. Okay. So this diagram, of course, you are seeing two gentlemen are assembling something. It is nothing but the same sounding rocket. And this is Dr. Kalam and then Dr. Aramudan. Okay, you see, Dr. Kalam is the project director for that sounding rocket, but you see, he is doing tradesman work. So this is the kind of a work culture they have given to us. So I think that culture we are still following today. That is why we are all successful in our endeavors. See, the kind of a culture which they brought is there is no boss and subordinate system. Whenever situation demands, okay, we get on to the job. That is the kind of a work culture which they have given. Okay. Then 1963, we started our program with the first sounding rocket. That is what you are seeing. This is where you are seeing in the previous diagram that the two gentlemen were carrying the rocket sub-assemblies by bicycle. And then, as a part of our communications experiment, in 1974, with the collaboration of American satellite that is called ATS, we first did the first communication program using that US made program. This we continued for 1 full year in Ahmedabad and then the surrounding areas. Okay, so this is mainly to have an idea of how we can make use of the communication spacecraft and then how we take it to the mass. That is how what that is called that site and step program. What we call is educational institutions, and then how we have done all these things. This diagram, whatever you are seeing, that all the participating agencies, whatever we are using, that is that satellite instructional television experiment. This is what we call it as STEP. This is how we started our thing, and then this is social and the technology experiments we have done. Okay. This is our beginning for the communication spacecraft. Of course, our first satellite and then we entered into the space club was something in 1975 with the launch of Aryabhatta, okay, from Russia, Roscosmos, okay, Intracosmos vehicle they have launched. And subsequently, okay, it has become a history, and then we have continued to launch many such spacecrafts. Okay, that is in 1977 to 1981. That Apple was it was built and then launched successfully, and then that demonstrated the capability of building a state-of-art communication satellite, testing, launching, and operating the spacecrafts. Okay, then establishment of the ground systems. So this is how our beginning of communication spacecraft era has begun. Okay, then these can be classified in 3 modes. One is experimental. Next, we moved on to semi-operational. Then we have moved to fully operational. So to start with INSAT 1, it was an experimental mode and then semi-operational. We bought 4 satellites from Ford Aerospace and then built the technology. Then we moved to INSAT 2 series of our own, and we continued with the semi-operational and then made it fully operational. Then we moved on to INSAT 3 series. Then we have further improved to INSAT 4 series and then our own GSAT series. Now in GSAT series, already we have launched very close to 25 spacecrafts in GSAT series itself. Okay. Then this is our that first experimental communication diagram. This is where it was done by Ford Aerospace. From this, we have learnt all our technologies, and then we established the thing. And then we had our own set. In INSAT 1, we had 4 such satellites, and then we learnt many things. Then we moved on to INSAT-2. In that we had 5 spacecrafts, and all the lifetimes are all very close to 7 years. But for that is the INSAT-2E. It was modified to have 12 years of life. And this is the first spacecraft where we have leased the transponder to Intelsat, and this satellite has worked 11 full years, and then we were getting the revenue to Government of India from Intelsat. We were getting millions of dollars as revenues. Okay, this is the first spacecraft which I can say that commercially it was made use, and then part of the satellite was being used by them, and the remaining part we were using for our purposes. And then we moved on to the next generation, INSAT-3. There we had 4 such satellites. Their life was increased to 12 years, and its power generation capacity was increased to 3 kilowatt to 5 kilowatt. Then we moved on to the next generation of INSAT-4. There the mass was around 3 to 5 tons, and then the life was increased to 15 years. And then the growth of the transponders and the bandwidth are also keep growing, and still as the requirements are keep growing. But even in spite of all these things, we are still not able to meet our requirements, because the requirements of the requirements growth is so high. It is very difficult for ISRO to meet the demand. That is why now it is almost a private participation have been brought in. And I think with this, probably, yes, we will be meeting all the requirements of our community, and then we will be able to lease to some other people also. So this diagram gives you just an overview of how a communication spacecraft looks like. That's what I'm trying to tell you. That whatever you are seeing is, this is an antenna platform. This is where that the propellants are stored in the tank, and this is kept under the cylinder. And this is the transmit antenna and receive antenna. These are all the solar panels, and then all associated electronics, including the battery and other things, are all being packed in these 2 panels. Then to increase the orbit and then correct the orbits, we are having the liquid apogee motor systems, and then we are having some of the thrusters to have the fine controls. This is how a typical spacecraft, a communication spacecraft, is looking like. Okay, this I have given you just for the sake of understanding purpose. I have given you, and this is how the spacecraft, that whatever that solar that payload component, which whatever you are seeing, this is hardly 2 meter by 2 meter. You see how complicated here that each panel is been. Now all the electronic systems and subsystems are to be mounted in this, so that this gives you an idea how it is a complicated one, and all these things are nothing but to be packed in 2 meter by 2 meter only. So that is the kind of a thing. And then this is how the technology is playing a crucial role, and then how effectively we will have to place all the subsystems and other things for the working. That is why I have shown you this diagram. And this is gives you a glimpses of the spacecrafts, which are all okay. Most of the spacecrafts which are still in orbit, and some of the satellites are already defunct, and then we have switched off the transmitters. And this is one we can boast, tell that we are the largest domestic spacecraft communication systems in the world, and we are using all kinds of bands, and then this is being utilized for all kinds of various uses. We will see now the spacecraft applications. We will see. So the technological possibility wise, what are all the things we can make use? It is for radio broadcast, TV broadcast, video conferencing, nighttime loading at receiving ends, because in somewhere when the system is not being used, the data downloading is much easier to go to in the night mode. Then online education through internet. Then internet through TVRO, that is at asymmetric internet is possible. Then voice chat on internet. Then telephone as a return link. Similarly, internet is written, then talkback channels, then webcam as a return link. So this is all the technological possibilities what we can make use of a communication spacecraft is. Whereas in the applications wise, if you look at it, these are all the broad categories, that mobile communication, search and rescue, and all these things. We will just see a small amount of it. The one main use is telemedicine via spacecraft. So our country consists of villages. They don't have a high-end hospitals. They are having only health centers. So through spacecraft, we provide connectivity to the health centers, to the nearby high-end hospitals. So they can communicate, they can transfer through video conferencing, they can transfer the patient's details, and the expert doctor who is sitting on the other side in the high-end hospital can suggest a treatment. And this is how through the telemedicine we are helping the villagers to have a high-end medical facility. Now more than 1,000 such centers are working in this using this. Okay, next big advantage is education, of course. So now if you take in your class, okay, as somebody pointed out, 50 students only can listen to a teacher. Whereas if I use the spacecraft and the teacher teaching is being uplinked, and then it is received across India, all the classes they can receive. So simultaneously the knowledge can be spread across India, so that it becomes much easier. A professor of the knowledge can be shared simultaneously through the spacecraft. That is how we have exclusively launched one satellite called EduSat, and then this kind of satellites are being used, and this is how it is being established. And what you are seeing in this diagram is how the students how the antennas are being established, and then how the television sets are being kept, and then how the teacher is teaching and how it is being transmitted. You are seeing in this diagram very clearly. This is mainly meant for primary school networks. Then you can have that extent that a network can be anywhere. That is, so schools, higher secondary schools, then universities, state capitals, or even private establishments, they can make use and then have their own communication systems for their educational purposes. Okay. Next big advantage is search and rescue systems. When the ship is in the deep sea, and if it gets into a problem, that is, its communications or gets into a problem, if they are not able to communicate and they get into a problem, how do they be rescued? That is, each ship will be provided with a beacon, so that beacon will be keep transmitting the signals. That signal will be picked up by the nearby spacecraft. Okay, that is called that number 2. And then it will transmit the signal to the local user's terminal, that is 3. From there, it will be passed on to the main mission control center, that is 4. There they will analyze the signals, and then they locate the ship location. Then it will be sending to the nearest rescue coordination center, and from there, depending upon the problem, they either send another ship or an aircraft or an helicopter and then rescue the people. This is how this search and rescue system is working. Whereas the second big advantage is our satellite navigation and positioning, what now you are seeing. Oh yeah, I think There was one more which I was, okay. Then next is this satellite navigation and positioning. Now all of you are having a mobile phones, and then when you want to see a place location, okay, simply go to map. You will come to know the things. That is mainly coming from GPS, that is that global positioning satellites. And the applications anyway are, I have already given in this diagram. I will not go too much into details. But global positioning systems, it requires 28 such satellites, and 7 satellites are in rather 4 satellites are there, and then they are all having some redundancies also. Now whatever your diagram you are seeing is at any given time the user is able to see that number is varying, 8 such satellites, 9 such satellites, 10 such satellites, okay. So like that. Whereas we had a problem when this GPS was in use. I think, I don't know whether you people are aware of Kargil war. During Kargil war, we had a problem of GPS because we wanted to monitor the troops movement along the borders, but we wanted to have the position accuracy in a little bit better manner, but the GPS refused to give that, citing security reasons. So the then Prime Minister Atal Bihari Vajpayee asked our chairman, can we have our own? Then yes, we readily agreed, and then we have come out with a solution for that. That is how that Indian regional navigation satellite system was brought in. So we come out with an idea of 7 such satellites, and then the coverage area is something like this, 1500 kilometer by 1500 kilometer. And we can have a position accuracy of better than 5 meters, whereas GPS, it was around 50 meters. That was not sufficient for something strategic reasons. And yes, now we have established everything, and then already I think in 2 mobile phones, this Navig system is already installed. But the problem is, it is the cost is around 30 to 40,000 rupees. Now they are already working out to bring out a cheaper version, and then probably in I think only time, maybe in terms of months, we will be having our own system, Navig, and that will be replacing GPS for the position and position determination. And next one, what I can say is this GSAT-11. It's a high-end mission for us. And then this is the heaviest satellite what we built so far. It is weighing around 6,000 kg. To be more precise, it is 5,854 kg satellites. It is a multi-beam antenna coverage to have our Indian land and then islands. And then this mainly to give you the data transfers. That is that for the internet, we can now have in terms of GB uplink and GB downlink. That is how this is going to be used. Okay. And okay, the satellite is, again, all the satellites are controlled in ISRO Master Central Control Facility. This is while testing that satellite, that antenna, when it is deployed. But that in the orbit, because it is in vacuum, there is no force is required. Whereas in the ground, when I deploy, gravity force exists. So to counter that gravity force, we are attaching a balloon to counter that, so that we have created that 0G environment. Okay. And this is in another one, when it is testing for its environmental, it has to be tested for its functioning when the temperatures go low or temperature go high. This is what we call it as thermo vacuum chamber testing. That is, we create the temperatures by way of heating or by reducing, by pumping in helium, so that we will bring down the temperature and then test the functioning of the satellite. And this is the fully integrated satellites, and it is being inspected by the team. By seeing the people who are then that shows you that magnitude of the spacecraft. That is why I have presented this figure to you. Okay, now this is what the present thing. Now, what are the emerging things what we are looking for? As you see here in this diagram, now the spacecraft's mass has already crossed 9 tons. Okay, we are also in the same range. I think we have already crossed 6 tons, and we will be also doing that. Similarly, power-wise, already 25 kilowatts have been already achieved, and then we are also having around 20 kilowatts of power. And this satellite, KA-SAT, which is again meant for communication purposes only. This is very high-end satellite. I wanted to show you how the future of the communication spacecraft is going to grow. Okay, this is by Astrium. Okay, this what they call it as Euro platform 3000, and it will be a payload or adaptive. But the base systems are being kept as the same, and then depending upon the user's requirement, the payload, that number of transponders, and then number of frequency bands and other things are adjusted, and then they are going to give it to us. Apart from that, I was telling you that a direct broadcast, you see the kind of antenna sizes. This antenna size is very close to 4 meters. That is how the challenging thing is accommodation of the spacecraft inside the launch pad. That is where it is very difficult for us to have. That is why a complicated folding mechanisms are all used. You see in this already there are 12 antennas have been mounted. That is, here itself I am seeing 4 such antennas, here another 4 such antennas, then here 4 such antennas are being kept used, and that is how that spot beam concepts are coming. And then this is mostly used for mobile communications and then direct broadcast systems. Okay, whereas in the two-way broadband spacecrafts, this is the kind of spacecrafts which are coming. This is mainly meant for internet access and other things. Then this is for mobile communication. That is, that as the very big antennas are being put, something like 30 meters of antenna. You see the kind of a size. This is the platform where that antenna is folded in the form of an umbrella, and then it gets deployed, and then the final shape is something like this. And this is the solar panel, whatever you are seeing this, and it can generate to a tune of around 15 to 20 kilowatts of power, so that the satellite can be operated for mobile communications from the geostationary orbit. Then these are all some of the advanced communication satellites. You see that massiveness of the spacecraft size and the kind of different shapes of antenna and the different size, and then you see that multiple numbers, and then you see the solar panel sizes. See, this is one other upcoming satellite. Okay, of course, yes, I think I'm coming towards my completion. Everyone should have their vision in 2025 for the spacecraft communication and navigation. Our idea is, yes, to keep continuing our services. That is that remote connectivity, search and rescue, multi-mode media, mobile, and broadcast with VSAT services, and then this though GPS tracking, and then high definition television services, and then disaster warning, rural communication, and then village resources. You see, as far as the bands are concerned, we are already a K, V bar Q is in the experimental stage, and then it will be implemented. Then very large unfurlable antennas we wanted to make use, and then we wanted to have a replaceable power system and propulsion systems. That means when some of the panels are defunct, or some of the batteries are defunct, or when the propellant is getting depleted, we are already in the process of refueling them and then try to replace some of the things. Now, whatever you are seeing in the International Space Station, somebody goes and then takes the system and then replaces the system. Similar such things are being planned in the subsequent years to come. And the only main problem which we are going to see in the process is, when we started in 1957, only one piece was there in the orbit. But now we are having lakhs and lakhs of pieces, and that creates the problem for the working satellites. That is, if you see, all these red dots are all defunct satellites, which are all called debris, which will be moving around with a very high velocity. Even if the size is of less than 1 centimeter, if it comes and impacts with the working satellite can be completely destroyed because of its speed. I think you people are all knowing momentum. For momentum, it is mass into velocity, So though the mass is very less, because the velocity is more, that is, it is moving to the tune of something like, okay, 7 kilometer per second. So that means that is the kind of an impact it has. Then that is how we are having the problem. I think it is going to be a very big problem. A lot of solutions are coming out, lot of ways how to mitigate this, and still things are all in the experimental stage. And this is going to be one of the very challenging problem to be posed to the entire world community of the users. And this is a challenge, and we have also taken some of the projects, and then yes, I think maybe in this decade maybe we will be having some solutions, and then we will see how to mitigate this debris to be removed. Okay, this is our future vision, and I think I'm with my last slide. I think I always put this: sky is not the limit for us. Nothing is impossible with hard work. Similarly, nothing is possible without hard work, and we are better among the best. Okay, the last slide. Thank you so much for your patient hearing. Okay, I think I'm through with my presentation. I don't know whether I have taken a lot of time.
It's okay, sir. It was interesting.
Okay, fine. I think I will.
Sir, we will open
Yeah.
the session for questions.
Yeah. Yes.
Any questions? Guys, you can
I
ask.
think I don't know whether. Okay, if the time is for all these people, you people are all right. I have no problem.
Yes, sir.
Yeah.
We'll ask one question, sir.
Yeah.
We'll finish it up. Guys, any questions you can ask him. You can use the chat box or use the mic.
Hello, good evening, sir.
Yeah.
First of all, sir, thank you for that wonderful presentation. It was so much exciting and exploring. Sir, my question is how we can communicate with the rovers, which we get deployed on various surfaces like Mars, Moon. So how we can give the instructions through.
Yeah. Okay. I think it's a interesting question. See, if you see the spacecraft, okay. Okay, till our communication spacecraft, what we are seeing is that 36,000 kilometers. There, the transmission time is very less. Whereas if you take Moon, though to send a signal and receive, it will take few seconds. Whereas when we did our Mangalyaan, the distance is so high, and the frequency bands what we are using are all same. It is. But the only thing is that as the antenna sizes become bigger and bigger, and the bandwidth required will be very narrow, because at the time the spacecraft moves in a predefined path only. So the movement of the satellite will not be there across once you start tracking, but the signal reaches and then coming back keep increasing. In the Mangalyaan, if you take it, it takes almost 14 minutes to send a signal from Earth to reach, or if I get a signal from a spacecraft to my ground station. That means the ground station, when I receive a signal, that signal has originated 14 minutes earlier. So that is how that time taken. In the similar way, okay, now that, okay, we'll say that now perseverance of US, it is supposed to be landing on Mars, maybe tomorrow morning, 5 o'clock, but other it will start around 4 o'clock on, so 4 o'clock in the morning. If you people are interested, you can go to the YouTube and then you can see that live transmission. But only thing is, though it is called live, you are getting only a delayed communication. That's all. It is otherwise there the bandwidth are all very, very limited, and of course, so but the communication things are all been same what we are having is, but only thing is that time delay is very high, and the kind of processing systems and other things are being modified depending upon the requirements. If I want to get the payload data, it is in a different bandwidth. But if I want to get the health, it is in different bandwidth. That is how we are communicating from the rover and lander. If you really see if our Chandrayaan-2 would have been successful, if we would have soft landed on the moon, that rover would have functioned for 14 days, but there from a moon, the rover will not be visible to our ground station fully. So what we made a mechanism that the rover will be communicating to the lander, and from lander we used to get it to the orbiter, and then through the orbiter we used to get the communication. Similarly here also, the rover will be communicating to the orbiting body, and through that the ground station is getting the data.
Thank you, sir. Very well. Thank you, sir.
Good. So tomorrow there is a chance for you, if you wake up at 4:30 and then go to YouTube, you can see the real landing of Perseverance rover along with the flyer.
Okay, sir. Thank you, sir, for the information.
Sure, sir.
I thank you, sir, for spending your time gracing the talk series and sharing your knowledge on communication spacecraft present and emerging trends. It was interesting to hear your experience as a student, your work at ISRO's initial days, and your thoughts on the topic. Today, we had the opportunity to hear your interesting insights, and this is definitely encouraging us in our future. Thank you so much, sir.
Okay, thank you. All the best, you guys. Only one, it's not an advice. This is the age for you to learn things. You don't leave your professors. Ask whatever you have a doubt. Without asking, nothing will be coming. Unless the baby cries, mother doesn't give the milk. Okay, mother thinks that the child is all right. So you should ask for, and this is the age whereas you have to get the knowledge, and you are now worry free. You are not like me, like, okay, now I have to lot of other things to bother about. Whereas for you people, study is the only thing. Lot of opportunities are there. So put all your efforts. Okay, that does not mean that you have to read 24 hours a day. No, but enjoy, but to a limited extent. But your main aim should be do well in your academic and get good rankings. That is the only way where you can go into the higher and higher ladder. Okay, all the very best for you people.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Thank you, sir.
Okay, thank you guys for joining and staying so late till 9 o'clock. Uh, you can leave the meeting except for media interns. Can you guys stay?
Didi, there's one thing I wanted to, confirm it. It's possible. Hello,
Yeah,
Paraji bhai or
yeah.
Didi, anyone. The thing is that I wanted to know if we could be, we will be really thankful